Sup nerds, I'm Tom, and they're coming to get you, Barbara.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh wait, it's the wrong movie. So first off, I want you to know that I am a bit of a Friday the 13th fan, or mostly I'm a horror fan. I like horror movies, and Friday the 13th movies are, as they went on, right, they got worse and worse, but they also became, like, self-aware, so they're, like, goofy, silly fun, so I do enjoy them, but the first one is actually, like, a pretty good slasher flick, right? Like, in all these horror movie franchises, like, Friday the 13th and Halloween and Scream and Nightmare on Elm Street, like, the first one is always, like, actually really good, even if they got goofy later. Like, the first one is, like, the first Friday the 13th is good. The first Halloween is probably, like, the best slasher ever. And the first Nightmare on Elm Street, first Child's Play, first Hellraiser, first Candyman, all that stuff, they're actually pretty good. You should check them out. But in this game, you are playing as the camp counselors trying to stay alive and get away from Jason. And it's not co-op, you're competitively being mean to each other, trying to stay alive. You're pushing other players in front of Jason in a way. The main mechanics are a press your luck, drawing tokens from a bag, and a take that card system. And really, on your turn, you're either going to draw a token from the bag, play a card, or head back to camp, which basically means I'm done with the round. I'm not going to press my luck any further. I'm coming back to the cabin or whatever. When you end your turn, you actually do get a bonus. There's like this bravery bonus, and it's actually calculated based off of how long you're out there, right? The first person to come back will just get a card. Same thing with the second person. But the longer you stay out there, you'll actually start getting points. And the last person to come back in a 6-player game will get 4 points and another card, which is a little bit silly. I guess it makes sense almost thematically, but so you get more points for staying out there for the longer you stay out there, but the longer you stay out there, the more likely you are to get more points because you're going to be drawing more tokens from the bag or whatever. It's also the more likely that you're going to bust. I know, so whatever. I would think that it'd be like a bell curve, right? Like the first person to come back isn't so great, but the third and fourth person, will get a better bonus. But then if you stay out there too long, you won't get any more bonus. So they tell you, hey, you've got enough points, come back in. There are these first to return bonuses, so that does make it incentivize you to jump back a little bit more. But honestly, the longer you stay out there, you could get 20 or 30 more points by staying out a couple more turns versus, 4 to 7 points by coming back with these particular things. I don't know. I just feel like staying out longer in this game is really beneficial. But when you draw tokens from this bag, these are actually really nice tokens. They're these like plastic chits that are really good. They have stickers on them and stuff. So if you draw a Jason token, that's bad. That means Jason's coming to get you. If you draw 2 Jason tokens, that means you lose everything. You bust, and you don't get to save any of the other tokens that you were able to collect. But most of these tokens are equipment and stuff you're trying to find, so maybe you can fight off Jason. There's frying pans are the most common, which means they're the least amount of points, and axes are the least common, and they're the most helpful, which is why they're the most points, right? And you also there's a set collection thing, if you get one of each, you get bonus points for them. And then if you get triples or quadruples of one set of tokens, then you can double the points you get from other tokens and stuff. So it's not just every, token is a point or something. There's a bit of strategy to which tokens you want to draw when and which tokens you want to steal from other players, because the other thing you can do on your turn instead of drawing from the bag is to play a card. They're called fear cards. And a lot of these are take that aspects on other players. Some of them just help you out, right? You have a hidden stash or whatever, or you can go on a supply run to just draw more tokens. But a lot of the times you're going to be playing cards on other players to steal stuff from them or to make them draw tokens or to have Jason come and attack them type of thing, right? And those two things mixed together mean that this game is very wonky, very silly, very swingy too, right? The end, somebody could end a round with 50 points, another player could end the round with 0 points, right? So that's a huge gap. Now, I have noticed that the end game scoring is a lot tighter and closer than you would think it would be in a game that's this swingy, but it's still swingy, right? So this is definitely a beer and pretzels type of game. Actually, the last time we played it, we watched in the background, we had Friday the 13th Part 3 on, which is actually the first Friday the 13th movie that has Jason's iconic hockey mask in it. In the first movie, there isn't really even any Jason, arguably. And in the second movie, he has just this bag over his head, which is on some of the cards here. It doesn't look like they're kind of going generic with it. They didn't specifically bring up characters from any one movie. They just have the nice guy, the diva, the nerd, So they're going more generic with it, and it could be any Friday the 13th movie that you're playing. But they do pay attention to some of the weapons that he used in the movies, and really pumping the theme in there. So it's not just a generic slasher game. They really are saying, okay, well, this happened in the movie. He wore the bag, he uses his machete, but here they're always by a lake, so there's the life raft there. The tree stump, the arrows, he shoots arrows, the pitchfork, that was in the third movie. They were over by a farm, kind of. They had like a barn there. So it definitely seems like people who have watched a lot of the movies made this game. Now, it is swingy and silly, and it's a beer and pretzels game, but it is a lot of fun. If you're in that kind of mood, you're going to have a good time with this game. If you turn your brain off just a little bit, you will have a lot of fun with this game. Now, I do have complaints, as I always do. I do think that the chits in the bag are really nice, but the other components aren't all that nice. Actually, these tokens are okay. These are your point tokens, the blood splatter point tokens. But the cards are pretty thin. Your player boards and this camp board are really thin. That just kind of seems like that's what OP does. They always put all of their money into making one really, really nice component, and the other components are fine. Like, they're not bad. They're not... they'll last, I guess. They're okay. They're usable. But... And I do wish that there were more cards in the game. Both I wish we got to play more cards, and I wish that there were just more card variety. Like, you get 5 at the beginning of the game, and I think the most you're going to get in between rounds is like 2. And really playing cards is one of the more fun parts about the game. It's more variety. Like, sure, you get a lot of points drawing from the bag, but okay, I'm going to draw from the bag. And then my next turn, I'm going to draw from the bag. And the next turn, I'm going to draw from the bag, draw from the bag. Okay, after a while, you're going to want to play a card just to kind of mix it up, So I wish we had more in our hand to do that a bit more often, or at least got more in between rounds, because we start with 10 cards. And the first round, we're going to play all our cards, and then the other rounds, we're not going to play any cards. And I also wish there were more cards, like more variety. You start seeing a lot of the same here. Which does kind of make sense because there are these defense cards, right? So you want to make sure that you have an equal likelihood of drawing the defense card and drawing the card that you're defending against, and that those are both kind of plentiful, I guess. But I don't know. I would like to see a pack of more cards just to increase the variety. We could add to the deck or whatever. That would pump up the experience for me a little bit. But anyways, if any of what I was talking about in this video sounds interesting to you, and it should, turn your brain off, have some beer, and have a good time with your friends. There'll be a purchase link to this game in the description box down below. There will also be a link to Game Toppers. There will also be a button that says subscribe, so that way you'll subscribe and you'll never be bored.